Good day, our listeners and our viewers. Wellness Influencers is proud to bring you another fantastic interview with the amazing doctor, Dr. Alain Desaulniers.
Desaulniers.
Desaulniers, sorry.
It's good. I have it pronounced every which way you can imagine. So I respond to pretty much anything.
All right, Dr. Alain, thank you for joining us. Just to make it short and brief, in today's interview, we're going to be dealing with all the latest news that's going on, how to deal with stress, how to keep your family calm, yet informed with science and latest scientifically available information. So to keep it calm, yet vigilant. Dr. Alain, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you, sir. Now, you and I both know that the latest going right now is what's going on with the coronavirus and COVID-19. Mm-hmm. Basically, in Canada and in the United States, we have had things changing by the hour. It's causing quite a bit of anxiety and understandably stress on people. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with it, and how do you suggest your practice members dealing with it?
Well, I guess we look at it regardless of coronavirus or not. I mean, one of the things that I think this whole pandemic and the stress and the anxiety and the fear, what it brings up is this idea of, I guess, what we're talking about now is the foundation for our health. Like, regardless of what's happening, that the foundation of your health, and this is not just health in your body, health in your relationships, health in your purpose, health in your business, all things just rely on these foundations. Like, what do we do every single day to build health? Like, what can we do to do that? Like, we need to make sure that our nerve systems are clear and that we are aligned. We need to make sure that we eat properly. We need to make sure that we move our bodies. We need to make sure that we're resting and recovering. We need to make sure that we're in good relationships. Like, all of those things require daily actions, right? And so once those things are in place, then we're much better equipped to deal with whatever comes, whether it be the zombie apocalypse, whether it be the coronavirus, whether it be, whatever it is. That, there's no quote, and I'm butchering it, and so I'm just kind of paraphrasing it, but it says that we may never rise to the level of our expectations, but we'll always default and fall to the level of our training. So meaning that, that we can so we can come into a scenario like we are in and actually thrive through it, as opposed to what so many people are doing, and that's freaking out. Like, absolutely freaking out. So it's like, what do we do now? Well, we do what we always do. We take care of our foundation, meaning we take care of our bodies, the best way to produce health. We're safe, all of those things. So we take all of the necessary precautions to actually thrive through life, not just try to just get by.
Well, it's a well-known factor that any sort of stress reduces your immunity. So to begin with, if you're stressing, you're affecting your immunity negatively, and that's going to have a subsequence, after even this whole thing blows over and it's gone. We all are in it together. We will go through this. This will be solved. It's just going to take its time. There's precaution that everybody needs to take. Now, in order to keep calm and collected, what are the things that you would suggest that some of our viewers and listeners do?
Well, I think this came up actually last night in a conversation with my wife. So we have two young kids at home. We have a 3.5-year-old, almost 4-year-old, and a 13-week-old, like 3.5-month-old baby. And my wife asked me the question. She says, "Okay, well, there's all this panic and stuff like that." She's like, "So what do we do?" And I said, "Well, we have to actually finish that question. So what do we do to help? What do we do to serve?" I mean, so many times when we're stuck in stress and anxiety, it's because we're focused on ourselves. And the best way to get out of that stress is to take the focus away from ourselves and onto others. Like, how can I be of service to others? How can I help? Right? And so that's kind of been our guiding light, our guiding principle over the last little bit, is like, how can I be of service? And that's really, I guess, one of the biggest things.
Now, what are the things that we could do to take our mind off of, basically, the news is full of it. and it's being bombarded with news, the social media, everything that we look at causes that anxiety and stress to be a bit more prominent. I always tell everybody it's the best time to take time off from everything because the kids are at home.
Yeah.
Nothing to do. Sit home, enjoy your time. Put this thing away. Don't
Yeah.
be looking at it. So
After you watch us, turn it off.
exactly. So what is it that you do to bring that calmness and bring that sense of family to your family?
Well, we're just doing a lot of playing. We're doing with young kids. I think it's a great opportunity. Is even if you don't have kids, think of like just fun things to do. I mean, we are all children at heart. And it's like, well, what can I do at home? Like, okay, so there's all kinds of stuff. You can all of a sudden learn how to cook. I mean, we all have the internet. If you're watching this, you have the internet, which means that you have access to almost any recipe you can ever imagine. So there's things like that. There's things like taking walks. There's things like, if you live in a building, like a high-rise building, walk up the stairs, walk up and down the stairs. I mean, move your body, figure out, learn a new dance routine. That's what we're doing with our daughter today is we're putting on these little dance videos and we're like learning the different moves. Do that. And it's really, I mean, just taking care of, like you're saying, I mean, getting your mind into the present moment and remembering, and like even taking the time, like even like when we get into anxiety, we get into stress. I mean, one of the things that I'll always do is always kind of take a second, take a few deep breaths and say, right now, everything is just fine. Right here. And this is my mantra, right? It's like the two things that I'll say. I was always right here, right now. Right here, right now, I have no problems. Any problem that I perceive to be a problem is either something that is in the future, which hasn't even happened yet, or something that's in the past, which means it's already done. It's over. So right here, right now, I have no problems. And just that, just remembering right here, right now. And just being in that present moment and being at home and taking time away from our work and all that stuff, it gives us an opportunity to actually practice that because we're usually so busy with all of these things that distract our minds from being in the present moment. And so it's a great time to be able to actually practice that as opposed to just thinking of it as a good idea.
It's amazing that we all serve a purpose. And in these times of stress, because of what's going on, we kind of forget about that purpose, forget about our so-called why.
Mm-hmm.
How is it that we can keep on purpose and keep that purpose alive? What is it that we can do to have that as a paramount to how we live?
So how to create, well, I guess one, recognizing that if let's say if you're feeling, or if someone is feeling anxious or worried or depressed or, any sort of feeling, it means that you actually do have some sort of purpose. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't care. You'd be whatever. But the fact that you're actually feeling those things means that you know that there's something beyond you. There's something greater than what you are experiencing right now that is just awaiting to come into your life. And so I would say, one of the first thing, just whatever you're feeling, it's okay. Whatever you're feeling, it's okay. One of my mentors, this guy named Jocko Willink, who's a former Navy SEAL. Now he's like a leadership consultant, leadership coach. He's written a bunch of books, which I highly recommend. But he always said, when we're faced with adversity, his line is always, you say, good. That's how you respond. Good. So I don't feel on purpose. Good. Now what? Right? And then you ask question, then say, well, what do I do? Then I would then say what I told my wife yesterday. Well, what do I do to help? What do I do to serve? And in that service, I mean, there's no greater purpose than serving others. And that's how one of the big things that has come out of this whole coronavirus this whole like hoopla that's going on is that people, while there is so much fear, there's also so much community. People are coming out of the woodworks and creative, and really creative ideas like how I can help my neighbors, how I can help my community. We're doing one of the things with my coaching program, like last night I was thinking about it, like, well, what can I do to help? And there's, like to your question about like, well, getting on purpose and thinking about our purpose and how do we create and how do we get onto that is like so many times now we actually have the time to do it. So there's a whole program that I have that I put together. It's a 2-week program to actually help people to really go through those steps to find like from where you are now to create a deeper sense of purpose. And it was a paid course before. And I said, you know what? I want to just help. I want to help people get through this. So we're just going to give it away. So that's one of the things I'm going to be working on later today is just setting up the whole registration, everything for just to give it away, just to allow people to just do it. And that's one way that I can do, that's one way I can, serve. And so for all of us to think, how can I serve? How can I give? That will open up ideas in our minds as to a greater purpose for our life, for, just this sense of fulfillment of just being of service to someone else is so amazing. And it takes the focus away from the anxiety, the stress of what, I may be going through in the moment. It actually brings you into the moment, brings us into the present, that right here, right now, I have a purpose, and that is to serve others.
Amazing. In fact, actually, we were just discussing this with my wife that in order to open up and to serve this stress properly, one needs to take action, because to sit there and to worry about something, it's not going to help.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, it would be a great idea for everybody. We all have neighbors, family who are elderly, and they may require a little more help. This is the perfect time to reach out to them. You don't have to go visit them directly, no, but you can do a little bit of shopping if they need, leave it at their door. Reach out, see if they need anything. I mean, I know we have to keep our social distance, but in keeping in mind, you can keep social distance, but still not be disconnected.
Yeah. And I think it's like there's that razor thin edge of what can happen when this thing called social distancing, is that all of a sudden with the fear can come the idea that there's me and that there's you. There's us and then there's them, which means that we then become different. We then become separated. And I think it's a very slippery slope that all of a sudden we become fearful of other people. And really, I mean, what we're doing is we're trying to actually create a greater connection, a greater community through the actions that we're all doing by this social distancing and all the other actions that people are taking, is that actually creating community, that we are doing something for each other.
Taking precautions to stay safe is a great value, and we all should do. Washing hands, making sure we have social distance, making sure if you're sick, to report it and stay indoors and try to, limit our travel as much as we can. But that does not mean to get disconnected. You still can use your iPhone, you still can use your telephone, you still can go visit people. I went and I visited my parents. Both of them are elderly. I did not go inside. I went to their backyard. I made a visit with them through the window.
Yeah.
I made the effort to do them. I wanted them to know that I'm there for them, although we are not in direct contact, but I'm there for them.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely amazing. And knowing that, the idea that we are not alone, that there's just us. There's just us. There's no them. There's just us.
Dr. Elaine, we all are one, and we should be all there for each other, regardless of what it is. If it's a virus, if it's calamity, whatever it is, we should be all there for each other. Now, I want to shift a little bit toward this mindset. Mm-hmm. In order to bring any change, one requires a mindset. How is it that one needs to influence their mindset to bring about the change which they require to have, now be it in their life, relationship, their wellness?
Sure. I think one of the biggest misnomers that a lot of people have, and this is something that I struggled with for many years too, is this idea of, there's this idea that, if I just think positively, then everything will just be okay. And I just have to think positive, think positive, think positive. And I just tell myself affirmations and then that's it. And then for so many people, just like myself, it was like, well, I'm saying all these affirmations, but I still feel like crap. Like I still feel depressed. I still feel, and so it wasn't until, some years ago when I started, I did some training with, one of my biggest mentors, one of my biggest teachers is Tony Robbins. And he always talks about I guess the three pillars of making any sort of change in our life, and change of our mindset, a change in anything. It's really these three things: is our state, our stories, and our strategies. So number one, what underlies is our state. So it's like the idea of like, I'm going to tell myself that I am, I am power, I am health. But if I'm saying it from like just a state of fear, or if I'm like half asleep, and to say, like, the difference between saying I am health, I am love, versus I am health, I am love. Like, there's a very different, I'm in a very different state, right? You can hear the difference. You can feel the difference in the just the vibration of what I'm saying, right? And so number one is to know that, like, we need to, if you want to change your mindset, we have to change our state. And so as we, these little meat suits that we ride in, these bodies, changing our bodies. So looking at like, okay, if I'm in a state where I'm just feeling like crap, one easy thing to do is just move your body. Get up and do 10 push-ups. Get up and do 10 air squats. Go, and if you're at home alone, you can just yell, just something to change your state. It's what we call a pattern interrupt. So you interrupt the pattern of this, like, feeling depressed or feeling whatever, and moving your body into something bigger. Now, once we've changed our state and we get into state, and now we have time to, if we're staying at home, to like create a routine, create rituals for ourselves to actually go through the day and do that. So morning time, having a morning time routine and ritual is so key for that. But in a moment to moment basis, just changing our state. So listening to a good song, like I said, doing push-ups, throwing cold water in your face. I mean, anything to interrupt the pattern of us just being depressed and being down. Right. So that is the first thing. Then we look at, once you're in a better state, look at all of the things that we're telling ourselves, like the ideas of fear and anxiety and stress and all these things that we're seeing, and ask yourself the question. And this comes from Byron Katie. She said, so you just ask yourself the question, is it true? So like, oh, the world is coming to an end. Well, is that true? And the quick answer might be, well, yeah, it is. Okay, well, what evidence do I have that that's true? Because we're always looking for reasons, we're always looking for evidence to support the ideas, to support the feelings that we have. And then the third question would be, well, what would be possible if that wasn't true? Because most of the time when we actually ask the first question, is that really true? It's like, well, actually, no. Especially when we've changed our state. We just see, oh, actually, no, that's not true. The world is not coming to an end. This is just a temporary thing. I'm freaking out for no reason whatsoever. So then we say, okay, well, what is a more empowering story that we can tell ourselves? So if the world is coming to an end, no. What the world is doing is reconnecting. What the world is doing is recalibrating. What we're doing is actually reconnecting to the greatness of our bodies and the within, and realizing that there's so much that we've let go of in terms of taking care of our bodies, building our immune system, building a life to thrive. That's a new story. And from that empowering story, well, what can I do to support that story? What evidence can I find to support that story? Right? Because there's so many people, you'll look online and you'll either see a whole bunch of people freaking out or a whole bunch of people coming together. And the only difference is the frame in which you're looking at it from. So it's looking at, okay, so now that I've changed my state, now that I've challenged my stories and created a new, empowering, more compelling story for myself, what strategies can I then use to make those, to support those, right? Just like anything, we talk about building muscle in our body. It's reps, repetitions. So we stack all of these ideas, stack all of these reasons why this new story is possible, why creating the evidence for this new story. Then all of a sudden, that new story, that new state then becomes our new life. So it's starting with our state, building a state, so creating a state for power, then challenging and creating new and more empowering stories, and then creating strategies to then create that or make that our new normal, our new self, our new life.
Dr. Lane, I mean, you reminded me of a great doctor, Dr. John DeMartini, that he even explains in order to elevate one's to their better self, they have to change the way they have been, and try to change ways will change patterns in the brain, which makes you basically have different habits and practice those habits in order to elevate yourself to a higher level. Now,
yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to trying to keep some habits to help us with our purpose, obviously, meditation does help, and writing your affirmation is great. Are there any other things that we could do?
Well, yeah, well, the biggest thing that's made the biggest difference for me is just having some sort of morning routine. The biggest thing, and it seems so simple and it seems so ridiculous to think that, but I mean, we take so much time and energy in our lives for just the chaos around us. I mean, imagine the difference in our life if, imagine, let's say you and I were walking into a meeting together, right? And you have, okay, let's say me. I woke up at, the meeting was at 9 o'clock. I woke up at 8:45, rushed into the shower, half shaven. I, grab a cup of coffee on the way out, and I run into the meeting, and, I've just woken up 15 minutes ago. Whereas you woke up 2 hours ago and you got yourself into state. You did a meditation. You moved your body for 5 to 10 minutes. You took, something I like to do in the morning, take a cold shower. You write down your purpose for the day. You create some sort of affirmation or incantation for your day. Let's say you spent 30 minutes doing it, 15 minutes doing it, 10 minutes doing it. What you've done is you've consciously taken that time for yourself to say, I matter. I matter. And then you bring that power into the rest of your day. So all of a sudden we both show up at a meeting and I've just rolled out of bed and you've spent some time on yourself. There's no question. You're going to blow me away every single time. You walk in with power, you walk in with purpose, and that's it. It's over. Like
Wow.
I always remember a book that I read years ago by a guy named Donnie Deutsch. He's on TV now. He used to, I don't know if he still has the program, but it was called The Big Idea with Donnie Deutsch. And and again, I don't know if he still does, but he used to own a giant advertising agency in New York City. And he always talked about how he was always really fit. He always lifted weights. He was always super fit. And he said one of the biggest reasons why he stayed fit, and he says in his book, because the book is called Often Wrong, Never in Doubt. It was the name of the book. And he tells a story about when he would walk into a boardroom and he'd go and he'd have a client there, or he'd have a meeting with his team, or he'd have a meeting with whatever prospective clients. He knew that just the very fact that he knows that he's the strongest person in that room, he knows, he's like, I'm in control because I can kick every one of these guys' asses because they're mine. So just that one thing kind of flipped the switch for him and gave him the confidence to know, I've got this, right? So he prepares himself for that. And so for any of us, I mean, just any sort of preparation, whether it be meditation, whether it be taking a cold shower, whether it be drinking something green in the morning, whether it be moving your body, whether it be writing, journaling, whether, whatever it is. I mean, I have a big routine that I go through, a big set of rituals that I go through every day, but just starting with something, right? Just starting with something, something is better than nothing, right? And once we start that, and once you start to feel the difference, like, oh, wow. Like, first of all, I woke up 10 minutes earlier and I didn't die. Oh, wow. That's okay. So I can do that. And then you have whatever it is. I spent 5 minutes in meditation. I did 10 push-ups. I drank some greens in my water in the morning. Whatever it is, just that small step, you start to see the difference, just that little shift. And then you go, oh, okay, well, I can do that. That's pretty easy. Then you start to stack on top, one on top of the other, one on top of the other. Then all of a sudden it becomes a habit, right? I mean, we live in a time now where everybody's looking for like the greatest hack of all time, right? Like, how can I do the least and get the most? Well, the greatest hack, I believe, is not a hack in and of itself. It's actually a habit. Anything that we create as a habit then becomes our life. And so just that, that 1/24th of the day, 1 hour a day for ourselves is just huge. And so it's just really anything that will fill your mind, fill your heart, fill your soul to be bigger than you are right now. I think just that is huge.
The amazing part is that most who are running away from something is a habit, which was produced because they kept doing it. So it's a habit. Right. In order to remove it, you have to replace it with another habit, which is positive and helps you. So because true. If you're not going to replace it, it's going to be vacuum. You're going to go, revert back to what you were doing before. Same thing happens in relationship. Same thing happens when you're dieting. You have to have the habit. And it doesn't happen with once. I mean, I can't just get up and say, okay, I said my affirmation for the day. I should be good for a week.
Yeah.
No, every day. It's like you said so rightly, it's like a muscle. It needs to be practiced. You have to exercise your mind and your willpower. And how you exercise your mind and willpower is by creating new habits.
Right. And I think just to even bring it all the way back to where we first started talking about the whole craziness with the coronavirus is from now, like recognize that, and I'm not trying to be a doomsdayer here, but recognize that there will be another time in your life that something big is going to happen. I don't know what it is. It may be a kid, one of your children that needs your attention, that, they went through some sort of health crisis. It might be a car accident. It might be you losing your job. It might be something is going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right? Some big thing, or it might be a really great thing. But what we know is, so if you know that something is coming, life is happening regardless of whether you're involved in it, like whether you're engaged or not. So you might as well be engaged. And so what you can do to recognize that next time this happens, that you're going to be one of the leaders and not one of the people who's freaking out, is the things that we do every single day, building habits every single day, stacking those things, doing those reps every single day. And like I said, it's not, not one time is not going to do it. You can't all of a sudden just show up in a crisis and think that you're going to be awesome if you've been sitting on the couch and, just scrolling through whatever Instagram feed and looking at whatever all day. That is not going to do it. I mean, we just need to be consciously engaged in our lives and taking small steps every single day. They just build up and build up and build up and build up and build up. It's like the idea of compound interest. It starts very, very small, but it's huge in the end.
And to be a leader, I mean, you can be a leader for yourself, for your family, because in this situation, leaders are the ones that they bring calmness and they bring the families together and our community together and make us more productive rather than just running about with all, screaming, as you said, the doomsday and hoping for the best.
Right.
I tell you one personal story of mine that I was asked actually this very question this morning, that if I have had anything scarier than this. And I said, yes. About 8 years ago, my brother was involved in an accident and he became a quadriplegic. He was a MMA fighter. From one day, he was fine. Next day, he needed everything for him done. That was a very scary time. Did I die? No. Did it cause stress? It did. I'm human. I get stressed too. But how I dealt with that stress and how I went about it made the world of difference for myself, for my kids, for my family, and for my brother.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we start with, when we talk about being leaders for others, we need to start with leading ourselves. Right. It's a matter. And I think what's really important, especially these times now, is think about, rather than always kind of defaulting to like, well, what do I do? Like, it doesn't matter what you do. What matters more, well, I guess it does matter what you do, but it matters more who you are. Right. Who like, so think about, I mean, if I want this outcome in the future, or I want this outcome now, it's like, well, asking yourself the question, who must I become? Like, what kind of person does these things, has these things, goes these places, all these things, like, who must I become to have that? And that starts with leading ourselves. Yeah, it's a corny, overused metaphor, but we're on an airplane and the air masks come down. You have to put yours on first, and then before you help other people. So first we have to lead ourselves, then we lead our families, then we lead our tribes, ultimately to then lead our world. But it starts with leading yourself. Like I said, we, like the quote goes, I mean, we don't rise to the levels of our expectations, but we fall to the level of our training.
Dr. Lane, these are some pearls of wisdom. I hope I should be writing them down, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers are enjoying them as much as I do. Now, when it comes to trying to basically manage stress, mindset is huge, which we talked about it, and trying to build a routine to follow and basically to achieve our mindset is the next thing that we talked about it too. Is there anything when it comes to eating? Are there any food that would basically keep us less agitated, if you will, that stop us from our mind from going?
Yeah, well, I think anything, just very, very basically, like anything that's high in sugar, that's really sugary, you want to cut it out because that causes inflammation in your body. It causes your body to go through highs and lows, and I mean, those things in and of themselves are just bad altogether, right? Never mind going through times of stress, but especially when you're going through times of stress. So anything that will lower inflammation in your body. I mean, adding in, anything, like we are really stocking up on a lot of stuff like probiotic stuff, kombucha, and I don't like kimchi, but kimchi is another great one for that. And like kefir, and we have a coconut kefir that we use, and there's all, stuff like that, like stuff that will, number one, lower inflammation in your body, and also even out the peaks and valleys of kind of energy spikes through sugar. So eating things that are higher in protein, eating things that are higher in fat will just be much more sustaining for us, as opposed to, what we want to do. The monkey brain of us, the lizard brain wants to just eat anything that's super sugary, wheat and all this kind of stuff. We want to stay away from those things. And also, I mean, this is not, a diet thing, but especially if we're thinking about, if you're going to be home alone or you're going to be home with your family, I mean, using food not just as a crutch, but using it as a ritual. So even if it is something that's just, you just have a bowl of sugar, eating it all together, eating it at the table all together, talking will be much better than not doing that. So like looking at food as a connector, looking at food as something to build rituals will be huge. So never mind. So I mean, I'm not an expert on that stuff, but I mean, anything that, like I said, anything that can lower inflammation, build ritual, build connection will be massive.
Dr. Alain, thank you so very much for all the time that you basically devoted for this interview. Now, if our viewers and listeners are looking to get a hold of you, give us a breakdown of what you do, where you're doing it, how long you have been doing it, and how they can get a hold of you.
Sure. Well, I guess there's a couple gigs that I have, or I guess 3 gigs, one as a parent and husband. But then my, I guess, 2 day jobs are, I guess I'm a chiropractor here in Vancouver, originally also from Winnipeg, where you are. Practice is called Revolution Health. You can find us online, Revolution Health or revolutionhealth.ca. And then also there's coaching and consulting that I do for entrepreneurs, chiropractors, health professionals, all kinds of people. And that's with a company called TribeX. And that is, well, the website is tribex.rocks. And then there, actually, if anyone's interested, that the free 2-week course will be up on there within the next day or so. And yeah, like that the main goal for that is really, I mean, help, impact driven entrepreneurs who are really stuck in the chaos of business and life, and, kind of don't know where to go and how to get out, and, how to not only just have an awesome business, but have an awesome life, like create alignment between our relationships, our, our fitness and health, our business and our purpose, all of those combined. And that's really what the aim for TribeX is really to create a tribe of people around, our genius, around our X factor, around our gifts, so that we can create massive impact in the world, and create, a revolution of health and success and total awesomeness.
Dr. Lane, you're great. Thank you so very much. Hopefully we'll come back in another day and a perfect time for you. Thank you for your time. I'd like to thank our viewers and listeners for this interview. This was brought to you guys by Wellness Influencers, and hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did. Thank you, Dr. Lane.
Thank you.
Bye now.